Hi, friends. Welcome back. So, my first poem for you is one of my very favorite Shel Silverstein poems. And one thing that Shel Silverstein does in his writing a lot is he uses something called alliteration. And alliteration is a writing trick that you use when you make the words start with the same letter sound at the beginning of each word. Like a lot of tongue twisters have alliteration. One of my favorite tongue twisters that a lot of you probably know is Sally sells seashells by the seashore. And each word starts with the same sound. So Shel Silverstein uses that alliteration tool in a lot of his poems, and especially in the names he gives his characters. So the first couple of poems that I'm going to read to you have characters that have alliteration in their name. So for one of my options of something you can do this week is create a name that describes yourself, you feel like, that would use alliteration. The first poem I have for you is one maybe some of you have heard. It's called Sarah, Cynthia, Sylvia, Stout would not take the garbage out. And again, Shel Silverstein is also an illustrator. It's kind of hard to see on here, but he uses these hand-drawn illustrations. And in this one, you can see all of her garbage piled way up. And he uses alliteration in her name because it's Sarah, Cynthia, Sylvia, Stout. So each part of her name starts with this sound. Sarah, Cynthia, Sylvia, Stout would not take the garbage out. She'd scour the pots and she'd scrape the pans. She'd candy the yams and spice the hams. And though her daddy would scream and shout, she simply would not take the garbage out. And so it piled up to the ceilings. Coffee grounds, potato peelings, brown bananas, rotten peas, chunks of sour cottage cheese. It filled the can, it covered the floor, it cracked the window, and it blocked the door. With bacon rinds and chicken bones, drippy ends of ice cream cones, prune pits, peach pits, orange peel, gloppy glumps of cold oatmeal, pizza crusts and withered greens, soggy beans and tangerines, crusts of black burned buttered toast, gristly bits of beefy roasts. The garbage rolled on down the hall. It raised the roof. It broke the wall. Greasy napkins, cookie crumbs, globs of gooey bubble gum, cellophane from green bologna, rubbery, blubbery macaroni, peanut butter caked and dry, curdled milk, and crusts of pie, moldy melons, dried up mustard, eggshells mixed with lemon custard, cold French fries, and rancid meat, yellow lumps of cream of wheat. At last, the garbage reached so high that finally it touched the sky, and all the neighbors moved away, and none of her friends would come out to play. And finally, Sarah Cynthia Stout said, "Okay, I'll take the garbage out." But then, of course, it was too late. The garbage reached across the state, from New York to the Golden Gate, and there in the garbage sheeted hate, poor Sarah met an awful fate that I cannot right now relate because the hour is much too late. But children, remember Sarah Stout and always take the garbage out. My next one, also from the same book, this anthology is called Where the Sidewalk Ends, and it is in our library or in any library, or you can find it on Amazon, I'm sure. Um, is called, it's about another character that you probably don't want to be like, right? You don't want your house full of garbage, so make sure you take the garbage out if your parents tell you to. And this one is a man whose name also uses alliteration. His name is Dirty Dan, so he has that death sound at the beginning. And this one is called The Dirtiest Man in the World because he refuses to ever take a shower. The dirtiest man in the world. Oh, I'm Dirty Dan, the world's dirtiest man. I have never taken a shower. I can't see my shirt. It's so covered with dirt, and my ears have enough to grow flowers. But the water is either a little too hot or it's a little too cold. I'm musty and dusty and patchy and scratchy and mangy and covered with mold. But the water is always a little too hot, or else it's a little too cold. I live in a pen with 5 hogs and a hen, and 3 squiggly lizards who creep in my bed, and they itch as I squirm and I twitch in the cruddy old sheets that I sleep in. If you look down my throat with a flashlight, you'd see that my insides are coated with rust. I creak when I walk and I squeak when I talk. And each time I sneeze, achoo, I blow dust. The thought of a towel and some soap makes me howl. And when people have something to tell me, they don't come and tell it. They stand up and yell it. I think they're afraid they might smell me. The bedbugs that leap on me sing me to sleep, and the garbage flies buzz me awake. They're the best friends I've found, and I fear they might drown, so I never go too near a lake. Each evening at 9, I sit down to dine with the termites who live in my chair, and I joke with the bats and have intimate chats with the cooties who crawl through my hair. It'd brighten my life if I just found a wife, but I fear that never will be. Until I can find a girl gentle and kind, with a beautiful face and a sensitive mind, who sparkles and twinkles and glitters and shines, and who's almost as dirty as me. The end.